Hi, my name is Dr. Keegan Duchisella, and I'm the Medical Director of the Health Nucleus in San Diego, California. And today we're going to talk about visceral fat. So visceral fat is the hidden internal fat that's surrounding our organs, that's draped over our intestines, and it's different than the external subcutaneous fat that you can see and touch and pinch and feel. The reason why we care so much about visceral fat is because it's the worst type of fat for our health. When you hear visceral fat, think inflammation, think diabetes, heart disease, metabolic syndrome. All of those things are associated with visceral fat. So how do you know you have a high level of visceral fat? Well, there's a few different ways to measure. You could take a tape measure and do a waist to hip ratio. You could do a DEXA scan, but that involves a little bit of radiation. Here at the Health Nucleus, we do a full body MRI. So in addition to looking for cancers and aneurysms, we're also getting a very accurate measurement of your visceral fat levels. So you can see here, this is an MRI of a healthy individual. The visceral fat is colored pink, and you can see that inside their abdominal cavity that there's actually not that much visceral fat there. It's more of a honeycomb pattern versus this individual. You can see that this individual has a large amount of visceral fat internally. The abdominal cavity is covered in pink, and this person is at very high risk for metabolic disease and diabetes. One of the great things we could do here, in addition to measuring the amount of visceral fat that you may have, is compare you to other people your same age and gender. The best is when couples come in for their evaluations. Guaranteed, they always like to compare their amounts of visceral fat. It's almost like a little competition that they have to see who has the lower amount. But I love it. I love it when they go home, they keep each other motivated, they keep each other accountable to help drive that number down. So what happens when you come in and your results aren't what you expected? Let's say you're that 40, 50, 60-year-old individual who looks pretty good from the outside, but when we scan you, we find that your visceral fat levels are through the roof. These individuals are actually at the highest risk for metabolic syndrome, for diabetes, for heart disease. Something about having low amounts of external subcutaneous fat, but elevated levels of visceral fat put these people at very high risk. There are some interesting theories behind it. One of them has to do with subcutaneous fat being protective in some manner, but we could save that for a different video. So what are some of the ways to reduce your visceral fat levels? The good news is that weight loss in general will help drive these numbers down. Other things to think about: reducing stress, because cortisol is like jet fuel for visceral fat. You could consider intermittent fasting, reducing your sugar intake and simple carbohydrate intake, eating real food, full of color, and always make time for sleep. Try to prioritize sleep like your life depends on it, because it does. So doing all of these things will help you reduce your amounts of visceral fat without having to resort to prescription medications and supplements. So come in, get evaluated, make those positive changes and reassess in 6 months, 12 months, and get rescanned and see all that visceral fat just disappear. I guarantee you it will be the best feeling in the world. Well, I hope you learned a little bit about visceral fat and enjoyed this video. If you want to learn more about precision medicine and next generation imaging and testing, you could subscribe to the channel down below. My name is Dr. Keegan Duchisella, Medical Director of the Health Nucleus. I hope to see you around the channel. Take care and be well.